Well, in tonight's 7 UpFront report, we're taking a closer look at the state's newly formed Student Recovery Advisory Council. It's designed to help students with academic, mental, and physical support during the pandemic. Joining me tonight is Kevin Polston, who's a school superintendent in Grand Haven and a member of the council. Thanks for being with us tonight, Kevin.
It's a pleasure. Nice to be here.
Well, let's begin with what the goals are of the council to address the critical loss of learning during the pandemic. Even now, students are returning to in-person. What is the long term?
We know the implications and the traumatic effects that COVID-19 has had across our society, but in particular on our children who've lost out from the opportunities to learn in school, but also to have the social and emotional growth that comes with being in school. So when we look at the goals for recovery, we need to look at it in a comprehensive manner. So you mentioned academics, social, emotional, mental health. We need to acknowledge the racial trauma that's existed over the past year. We need to look at post-secondary transition so our students can go on after high school to continue their learning. Family community partnerships. We need to look at policy and budget implications, the physical health and COVID safety. But we also want to look at how we can come out better than we went in. We don't want to just recover to go back. We want to come out better than we went in. So we're also looking at innovation and ideas to help us support that.
And of course, Kevin, most all of us have never been through something like this, and especially our kids. So what do you think can be done to improve students' physical and mental health?
We know that through the pandemic, mental health referrals for school-age children has gone up by 30%. And we know that relationships are critical at school. So we need to create safe conditions so that kids can be back in person in school if their families choose that. We know the virtual environment isn't the best for most children. We also know that with athletics being paused and other physical health elements that students haven't been getting the activity necessary. So the goal of the advisory council is to look at this over a multi-year process. This is not going to be solved in a summer or even a year. We can create the conditions for our whole health of our children to recover and, like I said, come out better than we went in. And we expect guidance for educational leaders and policymakers to be part of our recommendations to Governor Whitmer.
Yes, and with an attempt to try and recoup that time, should districts consider lengthening school hours, maybe after school programs, or even year-round or summer school so kids can catch up?
No, we're not at the point yet for recommendations, but I think what we need to look at is we have 1.5 million children in the state of Michigan, and they each have their own unique narrative. You have students that have been in person since the beginning part of the year. You have students that have been full virtual since the beginning part of the year, and then you have students in between. And the conditions are vastly different. So we hope to provide guidance that can support leaders in making those decisions to best support children across a wide range, a wide spectrum, with research-based practices and evidence that can support the utilization of federal funds once they get to our schools, and to also have policy and budget implications for the state level as well.
And how do you see our kids getting back on one accord and getting our education back on track?
Well, one of the factors that we have to look at is there were significant inequities prior to COVID in our education system. All COVID did was exacerbate that. And so how can we look at our system and design it around the needs of our students so we can come out better? And when we look at what the research is out there, it's oftentimes in conflict with what school practices have been, just because of the long, rich tradition of what our education system has been. But when you looked at what we did during the pandemic, we really pivoted because we had to. Now we get the opportunity to look at what we want to make because we want to. And that's a different mindset. And I think we have a great opportunity. And I will say, for the first time in probably the last year, I really have hope. The vaccination effort has been tremendous. And I feel that we're on the precipice of really taking advantage of what's in front of us.
Appreciate that hope, Kevin. Important to point out that we really all haven't been our students on one accord, before this. So thank you so much for joining us this evening, and thank you for your work on the council.
Yeah, thank you. Pleasure to be here.
All right, Dave.